Hey, everybody, welcome to What's Up Wednesday. On my address this week, I'd like to talk a little bit about employment types and specifically focus on overtime versus paid time off. So to start out, maybe talk a little bit about exemptions. So there are two different employment types aside from full-time and part-time. You have exempt employees, often called salary employees, and you have non-exempt employees, which are considered hourly employees. And there are reasons for the differences between the two, but I would say that much of what dictates whether somebody can be exempt or non-exempt has to do with statutory law. Statutory law means laws in a specific state. And I know they vary substantially from one to the next, such as Washington to Oregon, Oregon to Texas, Texas to California. But when we look at a salaried employee, traditionally, they carry some different exemptions, or they meet some exemption requirements that allow them to be salaried. One might mean that they possess a professional designation, such as they're a certified safety professional. Another might be that they have a degree or a level of education that dictates them professional in nature. And a third common one would be whether or not they supervise other people. And usually with that statutory law, there's a head count number of people they have to supervise. So it's not uncommon that I will see a contractor hire somebody right out of school and they make them a salaried employee at, we'll say, $60,000, $70,000 a year. And then those workers are working 6-7 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day, and they're salaried. On the flip side, your non-exempt employees, again, they're same exemption requirements. They oftentimes don't have some of the benefits that exempt employees have, but it's required that we pay overtime. So anything over 40 hours a week generally, but like in California, anything over 8 hours a day, Monday through Saturday would be considered overtime. Anything over 12 hours a day, Monday through Saturday, would be considered double time. Anything over 40 hours in the week would be overtime, and anything over 8 hours worked on Sunday would automatically be double time. And that's statutory law. So when I look at exempt versus non-exempt, a lot of times I have conversations with people about paid time off. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today, is the value of PTO, paid time off, versus the value of overtime. Now, I think one of the big advantages of being an exempt employee is that you generally get paid time off. And paid time off looks like, I would say commonly you get 7 holidays. So you get New Year's Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, the day after Thanksgiving, and Christmas Day. 7 days off, you get paid, same paycheck. And then generally there's a PTO provision. It might be 2 weeks a year, might be 3 weeks, whatever it is, you get a paid time off benefit. And again, you get paid the same paycheck every single week or every 2 weeks, whatever you get paid. Now, if you're a non-exempt employee, then you're getting paid overtime according to that overtime schedule. But most of the time, non-exempt employees, hourly based employees, are not given paid time off. Some cases they are, it just completely depends. So let's kind of do the math. I wrote this down. So a normal work year is considered 40 hours a week and 52 weeks out of the year, which comes out to be 2,080 hours. So let's take a look at a worker who is paid $40 per hour. So if somebody's paid $40 an hour on a salary, then that comes out to be $83,200 a year. That's $40 an hour times 2,080 hours. Now, if they get 3 weeks of paid time off plus those 7 holidays I talked about, then that means there are 176 work hours during the year that they don't work, but they get paid for them. So that ends up coming out, the math comes out that they've worked 1,904 hours in the year. And if you divided their salary of $83,200 by those hours, they average $43.70 an hour for the hours they worked. Now you take a non-exempt worker and you put them in this exact same situation. They're not necessarily, or let's just say they're working overtime, because I would say even with your salaried employees, it's pretty common that you're working 45 to 50 hours a week. And sometimes at the job site level, 60, even 70 hours a week. So if you're getting paid overtime, what does that look like? So if you're getting paid the same $40 an hour and you're working an average 50-hour work week, when you do that math and you add it up for 52 weeks out of the year, that comes out to be $114,400. So look at the difference between 114 and 83 working potentially the same schedule. Now, if that non-exempt, that hourly employee takes off the exact same number of days, 7 holidays, not paid, and 3 weeks of time off unpaid, and you still do the math, that employee ends up making $104,720. So look at it that way. Hourly rate, 50 hours a week. You take off 22 days unpaid a year, you make $105,000. Salaried at the same pay rate, you take off those same days paid, you make $83,200 a year. So ask yourself, what matters? 20 grand more in pay, or the time off being paid? I think this is an argument that people make on a regular basis, and I know that most of the people that we hire would probably much prefer the overtime pay than getting paid a salary and getting paid time off. Now, there's some people who value that more, but in general, especially travelers, they want that overtime. And we are seeing a trend in less overtime, more 40-hour week jobs, which generally means that the hourly rate being paid on those jobs is a little bit higher with the lack of overtime. So hopefully that's helpful. And, do the math there. So I don't get paid time off, but I get overtime, and I end up coming out 20 grand in, more in my pocket, more in my bank account at the end of the year. Is it worth it? I would say that math is pretty easy, especially if all the other benefits are being provided. So hopefully you find that helpful, and we'll see you next Wednesday.